Hello, welcome to this tutorial. This is my first sewing tutorial, which is cool. So today I thought it would be fun to show you guys how I make my masks. I wear these masks to work every single day because I have to. And I get so many questions and compliments on my mask, and it's not an easy pattern to get to or to do because of how many changes I've made to it. I just thought I would make a tutorial and hopefully make it searchable. So this is the mask. I made this nice rainbow mask. Obviously we could go through the whole thing of masks aren't super effective if you don't use them properly, if you touch your mask, or if you don't wear it properly, and all of that type of stuff. These aren't completely sealed. It's not 100% effective. I do not put interfacing in my mask, and there's a few very good reasons I do that. There is glue in interfacing, and I don't really want to be breathing in glue all day. It's polyester, and it's sort of difficult to breathe through, and based on my experience of seeing other people wearing masks, it seems like people are complaining that they're very warm and don't want to wear them because they're very hot and hard to breathe through. This is just 3 layers of cotton. While it may not be as effective as a interfacing that might maybe catch the virus, nothing has been tested, I am able to wear this for like 6 hours straight and be fine. Full credits go to the maker of the mask, the original pattern that I got, that I can't remember what it's called. I'll link it below, and also credits go to Angela Clayton because she's the one who inspired me to make this mask and has also helped me make multiples of the mask. Let's get into the video.
So first you're going to print your pattern out from the link in the description. It says that it will print out perfectly, but as you can see it did not. So these are the measurements you're going to want to get. And then to create the darts from the top, you're going to measure down 1 7/8, make a dot, and then measure over 1 inch, make another dot, and then you would just connect those dots. That will be the top dart. For the bottom dart, you're going to measure up from the bottom 1 1/4, and measure over 1 inch, connect those once again, and that will be your bottom dart. Then you'll just go ahead and cut that out when you get the measurements correct. Yay! And then with your pre-washed fabric, you will go ahead and iron it out. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just get it smooth enough. And then on your selvage, create a little slit and rip it so you get a nice straight grain line. It might take a few tries. Once you do that, measure over 1.5 inches and snip and rip your fabric again. If your fabric doesn't rip as nicely as mine, you're just going to have to mark it out and cut it with scissors or a rotary cutter. These are used for the straps. You're going to make 2 of these. And then fold your fabric in half and trace out your pattern. And cut it out. And then do it 2 more times for the lining in the back. And then go ahead and stack those up and pin them. And then sew the top and bottom with 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you're going to mark your pleats. I'm just using a marker, and then I am just putting pins where I just put my marker. And then in order to fold the pleats, I'm doing this thing. I don't know if it makes any sense at all, but that's what I'm doing. I'm starting from the top, working my way to the bottom. It creates 3 pleats, and you just pin them in place. And I don't know how much sense it makes. I can't explain it. But you just do that. You just fold it. It goes like, you use the pins as like anchors, and yeah, I don't know. I hope it makes sense. Or you could do it however you want. Wow, like that. And then you're going to make sure your pleats are going away from you on the top and towards you on the bottom, and just go ahead and sew that. And make sure it's correct on the other side, and sew the other side. Then you're going to take a strip that is 1 3/4 by 5.5 inches, cut that in half, and pin it right sides together on your pleats for binding. And then sew that once again, and it will look like that. Then you're going to fold the top raw edge onto the top of the raw edge of the pleat, and then once again fold it down to create a nice sealed binding, and pin that. And then sew that. If you could stitch in the ditch, do that, or just create a really, really nice stitch, which is what I did. And it catches both sides, see? And then flip your mask and put in your darts. And sew your darts. And that's what your mask will look like at this point. And then I cut all the seams with pinking shears up to the seam lines, so it's nice and neat. And then I am taking my binding, my long binding, and starting in the center and working my way out, right sides together, to create the bottom binding first. And then sewing that up. Then I will flip it down and have the raw edges touch each other and flip it down to create the nice little binding again. And pin that down. And sew it down. Once again, if you could stitch in the ditch, do that, or just make it really neat. And then for the binding, I just kind of fold it over as I go and push it through my machine. You might have to iron this, but I could just push it through like that. And it looks like that. And now you're just going to do the same thing on the top, but just the first part. So that's what the bottom looks like, and that is what the top looks like. It's still raw, as you could see. Now I'm taking a paper clip, you could just use some wire or whatever, and I am straightening it out, and then I'm folding little hooks on the top and bottom with pliers. And then I am centering that, and then I just stitch it in by hand. And then I am taking the top of my binding, folding it down to the raw edge, and then I am folding it in half so the seam is on the top. It won't go all the way to the edge, but you do as good as you can, but you want the seam on the top. And you're more creating a facing more than a binding. And then I just sew that down by hand. It looks much neater that way. That's what it looks like, and then I just go ahead and sew my straps again. It's really easy. And there's another angle of that, so you could kind of see what I do maybe better. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed. I hope any of this made sense. Thanks for listening.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!